Part 1. The power of presence in a simple hug. There's a kind of touch that doesn't ask for attention, yet stays in her memory long after you've walked away. It's not about lust or games, it's about presence. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your energy is calm, grounded, and sure of itself, even a simple hug can speak louder than words. A woman feels everything in the way a man embraces her, whether he's clinging in fear or holding her with quiet certainty. Most men rush the moment. They pull too fast, trying to prove something. But a Stoic man doesn't chase or rush, he lets time breathe. Patience is power. When you pull her close slowly, not to possess, but to invite, she feels it. Her body relaxes because it senses strength without aggression. Your calmness tells her, "You're safe here." The slower you move, the deeper she remembers you. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." A man who controls his pacing and energy controls the entire moment. In that stillness, she feels something she can't name. It's not the hug itself. It's the frame, the silent confidence that says, "I am centered. I offer stability for you to rest in." A man once greeted a woman not with words, not even with a strong grip, but with a slow embrace. He didn't pull her in. He opened his space, and she stepped into it. That one moment stayed in her mind for days. Real attraction isn't effort. It's energy that asks for nothing. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Freedom in love means not rushing the outcome. You don't prove your worth through movement or speech. You simply stay still enough for her to feel your depth. When your presence says, "I'm already whole," she feels safe to open. The hug isn't about contact. It's about consciousness. Move slow. Breathe slow. Let silence work for you. In that quiet space between two heartbeats, you become the man she can't forget, not because you took something, but because your stillness gave her peace. Part 2. Slow confidence and the power of pacing in a world that rushes. The man who moves slowly becomes unforgettable. A hug isn't about holding tighter, it's about leading with calm certainty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." When you hug her slowly, you invite her into that stillness. She feels your calm, not your need. Most men pull too fast, afraid she'll slip away. But when you draw her in gradually, you say without words, "I already know you'll come closer." That quiet patience feels confident, even dominant. It tells her that you're not begging for connection. You're allowing it to unfold. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly. Desire works the same way. It blooms in the space between action and restraint. When you rush, you break that space. When you slow down, she leans into it. Her body softens, not because of force, but because she senses control." I remember a man who pulled too fast. It felt like desperation. Then another who simply rested his hand on my arm and let me come closer at my pace. That moment melted every wall. No words, no effort, just presence. Real strength doesn't demand, it allows. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery isn't chasing. It's waiting with certainty. When you slow your breathing and guide the moment instead of forcing it, she feels safe, and safety opens desire. Move slower than you think. Breathe slower than you feel. Because the man who controls time controls the memory. The Stoic doesn't rush to close the distance. He owns it. His silence, his patience, his composure become the language she never forgets. Part 3. The lower back connection. Strength without words. There's a reason a woman melts when a man's hand rests on her lower back. It's not about possession. It's about presence. That touch says, "You're safe with me," without a single word. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The lower back touch isn't about dominance. It's quiet leadership. Most men play it safe, keeping their hands high on the shoulders where it feels friendly. But the man who confidently guides the lower back signals something deeper: protection, direction, grounded energy. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be. Then do what you have to do." Your touch reflects your inner state. If your energy is calm, your touch feels calm. If your mind is steady, she feels it. A woman once said the difference between two hugs changed how she saw both men. One hugged her high like a friend, safe but empty. The other let his hand rest firm and steady on her lower back. Her knees nearly buckled, not from lust, but from a deep sense of safety and desire combined. That's the paradox. The most powerful touch is the one that doesn't demand anything in return. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The same applies to presence. You prove it through restraint, not control. When your touch says, "I've got you," she relaxes. When your eyes say, "I'm here," she trusts. That quiet strength lingers long after you let go. So remember, a man's strength isn't in how tightly he holds, it's in how steadily he guides. Touch her like a man who owns his frame, not her body. Because when she feels your calm confidence, she won't forget it. Not because you touched her skin, but because you touched her peace. Part 4. The Power of the Pause. Holding a moment longer, most men don't realize how timing changes everything. They hug Pat twice and let go too fast, as if escaping connection. But the man who holds just a heartbeat longer leaves her thinking about it for days. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And in that extra second, your calm presence colors her memory of you. When you break the expected rhythm, she feels it. Too short feels cold, too long feels clingy, but one breath longer feels intentional. Like you wanted her but mastered yourself. That balance between desire and restraint creates mystery, and mystery is what lingers. Epictetus reminded, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The man who controls his impulses creates gravity. That extra pause speaks louder than any words. It says, "I could hold you longer, but I choose not to." And that choice is what makes her crave you. I once heard a woman describe two hugs. One man released too quickly, she forgot it instantly. Another held just long enough for her to wonder if she should pull away. She didn't. Her body leaned in, while her mind replayed the moment all night. The hug ended, but the thought didn't, Seneca wrote. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. So when you embrace, don't rush to the next second. Be still in this one. Let her feel that time slows down in your arms. Hold, breathe, then release. Calm, not hurried. That pause will echo in her memory long after your arms are gone. Part 5. The Silent Charge. When touch speaks louder than words, most men ruin the moment by talking too soon. They say you smell nice, or make a nervous joke. And just like that, the tension dies. But silence, when used with intention, becomes the loudest language of attraction. Marcus Aurelius said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." A Stoic man knows that silence is not emptiness. It's power. When you hug her, don't fill the space with words. Just breathe slowly, let her feel your calm energy. A woman's mind is drawn to what she can't define. Your stillness makes her wonder what you're thinking, and that mystery pulls her closer than any compliment could. Epictetus wrote, "If you wish to be a writer, write. In the same way, if you wish to be magnetic, be silent. Don't explain yourself. Let your energy speak." The man who says nothing gives her mind something to chase. She imagined what you felt, what you wanted, and that imagination will replay in her mind long after you've gone. I once heard a story of a man who hugged a woman without a single word. No sigh, no whisper, just steady breath and presence. When he let go, she felt robbed, like something was unfinished. She thought about it for days, not because he said something special, but because he said nothing at all. Seneca wrote, "It is part of the cure to wish to be cured." A woman's curiosity works the same way. She seeks meaning in silence. When you stay quiet, you give her space to wonder, and what she imagines will always be stronger than anything you could have said. So remember, don't talk to fill the silence. Let the silence fill her. When you master stillness, your presence becomes unforgettable. Not for what you said, but for what you made her feel. Part 6. the subtle movement. Strength in motion, most men hug like statues, stiff, frozen, afraid to move. But the man who moves with intention, even slightly, transforms the moment. A gentle slide of the hand across her shoulder as you pull away feels deliberate, confident, unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That discipline of presence to move with purpose, not impulse, is what separates the ordinary from the magnetic. Stillness creates safety. Movement creates tension. And a Stoic man knows how to blend both. Epictetus wrote, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." You don't move to impress. You move to express grounded certainty. That slow slide, that calm shift, tells her you meant it not to possess, but to leave a trace of your presence. I once heard a woman say a man's hand brushed her shoulder as he released her, and she couldn't stop thinking about it. It wasn't lust, it was the contrast. Calm stillness followed by subtle motion. It haunted her not for what happened, but for what it suggested. That's the secret. Subtlety invites imagination, and imagination fuels desire. Seneca said, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." One small mindful gesture carries more weight than 1,000 careless touches. When your movement is slow, grounded, and intentional, she feels your control. And control, when paired with calm, becomes irresistible. So don't rush to end the moment. Let your hand move lightly, a simple slide, a soft release. It's not about taking more, it's about leaving meaning behind. Because when you move with purpose, she feels your silence in motion, and that's what she'll remember. Part 7, the teasing squeeze. Desire and restraint, a normal hug is forgettable. But when a man gives a subtle squeeze before letting go, firm enough to be felt, gentle enough to respect, it leaves a spark. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The Stoic man doesn't overdo. He controls his impulse. His strength lies not in force, but in precision. That slight squeeze feels playful, deliberate, like he wanted her to notice. It's the contrast that ignites her thoughts. Calmness mixed with tension, control laced with warmth. She wonders, was that intentional? Was it desire? And that question keeps replaying in her mind long after he's gone. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The same applies to touch. It's not the hug itself, but the feeling it evokes. When done with presence, a simple squeeze carries more meaning than any grand gesture. I once heard a woman describe how one man's hug stayed with her for days. He didn't hold her tightly or whisper a word. He just pressed his arms slightly before releasing. That brief tension felt like a secret only her body could understand. It wasn't lust. It was message, silent, confident, unforgettable. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery in this sense is knowing when to stop. The man who ends the moment first calmly leaves her wanting more. He gives her something to chase, not his attention, but the memory of his restraint. So, never cling. Never rush. Let your touch end with purpose. Because the man who knows when to hold and when to release owns the moment, and her mind follows. Part 8. The lingering presence. When the moment refuses to end, most men ruin the magic by ending too soon. They hug, step back, and break the connection as if nothing happened. But the Stoic man knows presence doesn't stop when the touch ends. Marcus Aurelius said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." A single second of awareness after the hug can echo in her mind for days. When you pull away, don't drop your gaze or rush for words. Hold her eyes, calm and steady, one heartbeat longer than feels comfortable. That look tells her the moment isn't over. It's silent, but charged. She wondered, did he feel that too? That unspoken question becomes the memory she can't shake. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The same applies here. The way you leave matters more than how you arrived. As you let go, let your hand linger lightly across her arm or shoulder. That slow motion isn't possession, it's presence. It leaves an invisible trace she'll keep feeling when you're gone. I once heard a story of a man who did this perfectly. He hugged her, then let his hand trail softly down her arm until it slipped away at her wrist. She froze, skin tingling long after he left. It wasn't what he said. It was how he ended, calm, deliberate, unforgettable. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." So when you leave, do it with gratitude, not need. A man who can let go with peace shows mastery, not detachment. Because true attraction isn't built in the holding, it's built in the letting go. The Stoic man understands. The hug may end, but the energy remains. It's not about touching longer. It's about leaving something behind without taking anything away. Part 9. The Public Embrace. Power in presence. A private hug can spark chemistry, but a public one reveals character. Most men shrink when eyes are watching. They soften, rush, or act embarrassed. But the Stoic man remains grounded. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Your calm presence in public tells the world who you are without a word. When you hold her with quiet confidence, not to show off but to protect, she feels proud to be near you. It's not about control, it's about composure. The way you hug her in front of others signals strength. It says, "I'm not hiding. I'm not pretending. I'm simply being." That kind of authenticity radiates, and others feel it too. Epictetus wrote, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." If your frame is strong, you don't need approval to express care. Your confidence speaks through your posture, your breathing, your stillness. A woman's attraction deepens when she feels both your presence and your restraint, especially when the world is watching. I once heard a woman describe two moments. One man hugged her quickly in front of others, nervous, distant. Another wrapped her calmly, firm but not forceful, his arm resting naturally around her back. She said she'd never felt safer or more seen. That single act made her realize confidence is quiet, not loud. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery, in this sense, is standing still in truth, unbothered, unshaken. So when you hug her in public, don't shrink to fit the crowd. Hold her as you would in silence, calm, steady, complete. Because when you stay centered, she doesn't just feel affection, she feels your peace. And when you lean in close, almost as if to whisper but say nothing, you leave her breathless. It's not the words that captivate her. It's the mystery you never reveal. That is the power of the Stoic man. Silent, strong, unforgettable. Part 1. Oh, the final truth. Presence beyond the touch. It was never just about the hug. The touch, the pause, the silence, they were only reflections of something deeper. The man's frame. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." A man who is calm in thought moves with purpose in action. Every gesture, every breath, becomes an imprint not of desire, but of presence. Most men hug like they're asking for approval. The Stoic man hugs like he already knows his worth. He doesn't cling, doesn't overstay, doesn't explain. He simply leads the moment with quiet confidence. His restraint says, "I don't need this. I choose it." And that choice is what makes her crave him long after he's gone. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True attraction doesn't come from intensity. It comes from control. When a man can stop before the world tells him to, he commands attention without words. He turns simplicity into mystery, and mystery into power. I once heard a woman say, she forgot every man who chased her except one. He was calm, patient, silent. He hugged her once, said nothing, and walked away. But she never forgot the way his presence made her feel, steady, grounded, unshakable. That's what real masculinity does. It leaves peace behind, not chaos. Seneca wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay, and the greatest remedy for weakness is patience." When you slow down, when you move with intention, you show her something rare, a man who owns himself. Because obsession doesn't come from taking everything. It comes from leaving something unfinished. So remember, a A Stoic man doesn't seek to be remembered. He seeks to live with such presence that forgetting him becomes impossible. The hug ends, but the impression remains. Not in her body, but in her mind.